The editorial offices were buzzing on September the 1st as Salisbury's Evening Standard got ready to meet its first deadline. With the rat-a-tat-tat of teleprinters operated by the post office, world news flowed in from news agencies in a steady stream. As it arrived, the sub-editors went to work, filling in, punctuating, and adding headlines and subheads. With mounting urgency, they completed their task before passing their copy through to the works. Here, there was no hold-up before the Linotype operators set it into type. As each line is typed, it is molded into a metal slug. The slugs then go to the compositors, who fit them into a form to make up a complete page. Though made of steel, the compositing tables are always known as stoves. The type actually reads backwards and can best be read upside down. Finally, the form is locked solid. A rough proof is pulled for checking by the proofreaders to eliminate mistakes. When corrected, a mat or flong is pressed onto the type. Made of a special kind of papier-mâché, it takes a complete impression of the whole page. From this flexible mat, the rotary plates are cast, trimmed off to remove surplus metal, and fitted onto the rotary presses. All that remains is to thread up the paper, and the press is ready to go. Mrs. D.H. Ollerman's, wife of the Rhodesian Printing and Publishing Company's chairman, started the press rolling for the Evening Standard's first edition. And there's no doubt that in years to come, this first edition will be a valuable collector's item. From the presses, the first copies were rushed out onto the streets. Many were flown to Bulawayo, where they were snapped up. And so a new evening newspaper has come into being, bringing the day's events to the public as they head for home after the day's work. We wish the Evening Standard an ever-increasing circulation and many years of life. Arriving at Umtali on a visit to the Federation is His Excellency the Governor-General of Mozambique, Flag Captain Gabriel Teixeira, accompanied by Madame Teixeira. As a mark of respect to a distinguished visitor who is always welcome, His Excellency was made patron of the Umtali Agricultural Show, where the flag of Portugal flew in his honor. Here he was welcomed by Lord Dalhousie, and they exchanged informal neighborly greetings. The Manica and Sofala region of Portuguese East Africa exhibited, and His Excellency took a keen interest in what goes on our side of the border. In his opening address, he spoke of the cooperation between the two territories and the contribution they are both making to Africa's progress. Umtali is, of course, the center of a tremendous and thriving agricultural area. Farmers hereabouts are proud of what they're doing, the achievements of the cattle breeders receiving a particularly enthusiastic word of commendation. This castle isn't nearly as medieval as it looks. Hardly 10 years old, it is at Landazi on the borders of the Luangwa Valley in northern Rhodesia. In building a luxury guest house, the architect has managed to maintain the impression that you might still bump into a ghost with his head tucked underneath his arm. On the battlements, however, instead of the wails of Hamlet's late lamented papa, you're more likely to hear the sounds of wild game. Since the northern Rhodesian government opened the Luangwa Valley to hunting parties, the castle has become popular. As a contrast to the tough going in the Bundu, the castle has a swimming bath, all mod cons, and excellent service. Tea on the lawn is infinitely preferable to a swig out of a tepid water bottle out in the bush. Afternoon tea at Landazi is a most popular affair, not because of the tea particularly, but because of the time of day. You see, as the heat of the day passes, guests foregather for an attractive sideshow. Everyone seems to be thirsty, including the game, which comes to the artificial lake to drink. You never know quite who is coming to tea, which adds interest and variety to life at Landazi Castle. Among the Nkana mine's most valuable adjuncts, especially for its African workers, is a unique institution known as Pollys Workshop. Since 1942, thousands of Africans have learned to trade here, and no less a personage than the Queen Mother congratulated Mr. W.L. Polley and his African instructors on the fine work they're doing. As a matter of fact, the workshop made the suite used by Her Majesty during her stay at Nkana. The Queen Mother's visit was certainly a red-letter day. And so, on a perfectly ordinary working day, let's cast the spotlight onto the activity she found so interesting. First, the remarkable Mr. Polley himself, who bustles round, keeping an ever-watchful eye on his pupils' progress. A good deal of the workshop's output is requisitioned by the mine, which finds it an excellent source of supply. On the other hand, these spare-time studies yield considerable private work. Tools, materials, and instruction are supplied free of charge, and our Mr. Polley is most careful to start novices off on the right foot, to teach them to do what is right from the moment they begin. Apart from making furniture for the mine, either wood or metal, they're learning trades they can practice when they return to their homes. Paying no more than the cost of materials, they can make almost anything for themselves and their families. The remarkable thing is the diversity of skills. The little handcraft centre Mr. Polley took over in 1942 has quite a factory atmosphere, from which both the workers and the mine benefit. One point we haven't yet mentioned, and it's a very important point, is that Mr. Polley's workshop is also a rehabilitation centre for Africans disabled by injury or illness. It's an institution with a soul, and thousands of Africans owe a great deal to that jack of all trades and master of all trades, Mr. W.L. Polley. Periodically, we take the road back to Kariba to see what progress has been made since our last visit. And since the inaccessible days of Kariba's early beginnings, things have certainly changed, particularly in the residential village of Kariba Heights. A number of bachelor blocks give the appearance of a modern city, and carefully kept gardens give it an air of permanence. Housekeeping has been considerably simplified, and there is very little lacking to make life in Kariba Heights pleasant and satisfying. Much of all this will remain when the dam is completed, and no doubt the banks will be enlarged when the occasion demands. Apart from the material requirements of Kariba Heights, an excellently equipped hospital is producing magnificent results. Replacing worship in the communal hall, churches are being built to cater for different denominations. Nowadays, nobody needs swim in the croc and bilharzia-infested Zambezi, and the pool will be an added attraction to tourists who stay at the Kariba Hotel. Recently, the hotel was officially opened by Lord Malvern, and though not yet complete, it has been planned with an eye to the future. When the builders move out of Kariba Heights, they will vacate a good deal of living accommodation, and the present plans for the hotel do not include many bedrooms. Nearing completion is a block of single rooms, while 10 double rooms with baths are ready for occupation. Kariba Hotel certainly fills the bill as a social centre, and will cater for many future tourists who room elsewhere. Most of the food has to be brought in from some distance, as very little is produced locally. In addition to excellent amenities, the situation is attractive, and the hotel will look out over 30 miles of the Great Lake. Work on the dam itself has again made up leeway and overtaken schedule. A new road bridge is being built to replace the old one swept away by floods, and will further expedite work when it is open to traffic. Some 85,000 cubic yards of concrete are being poured into the main dam wall every month, and the latest estimate places its completion some 6 months ahead of schedule. It already dwarfs the men who are building it, but they're getting a stranglehold on a mighty river, bringing a gigantic engineering dream to a reality. And it may be a source of satisfaction that Kariba will ever stand as a proud monument to their labors.